Okay, so there's a few things I want to talk about. And one of them is, it was a while back. And I had heard this interview. It was a Jim Carrey interview. And I don't know if it was in that Jim and Andy documentary or something. Like, I can never, I only remember things like Swiss cheese, like little things that are said. And this one was, stood out to me. It was a significant thing. So, he was talking about, I don't even know if these are just how the whole conversation went. So I'm just going to put it together the way, I'm going to put it together. I'm not going to try and go verbatim what was said. But he had said, when he was working with Rodney Dangerfield, Rodney smoked weed all the time. And he said it gave him more of that feeling of creativity. And Jim's dad was a musician back in the days of like reefer madness, musicians were on heroin and smoking that weed, and it was thought to be, this really bad thing because the Rothschilds or Rockefellers or whoever these motherfuckers had bought a paper company and they didn't want us to go towards hemp and, alcohol. They had a whole agenda. So they had to say, hey, this is bad, just like, dandelions. Get us spray them with poison. So they did the same thing. They campaign. They move us in a direction that they want us to go. So in that campaign that they said, weed's so bad. It's a drug. It's a gateway drug. You smoke weed, you're going to find yourself strung out on heroin someday, and it was a way to scare people, to use fear. But the thing that I find interesting about it is because so I guess Jim went up and did a show one time and said he had smoked. And he just said it was just like everything was just going and he felt really good and he was killing it on the stage. And then he came off and he was feeling good. And I think that's when his dad said it or something. But at some point, this conversation went into his head where his dad said, if you smoke, you won't know what's you and what is not you. And that right there, that's the thing that is important. That is what I want to say. Because that is true. When you start tapping into the consciousness that's around you, when you become a part of that, however you do it, if you do it through meditation, you do it because you smoke. I mean, the Indians did it from smoking for so long. I mean, it's in our blood, in some people's blood. We're all different. We're all unique. We all have different, mechanical makeup inside with our DNA and our structure. So we're all a little, different. We're unique beings. And so when you do smoke, if you are using that as your tool to connect, then you do cease to stop being you. You don't stay you anymore because you become everything around you. Everything around you has consciousness that is communicating with you, communicating on a soul level. When you get tapped into that energy, you do stop being you. You start becoming everything around you and who's communicating with you. Like, there's no way I would say, if I were to say who I was, I would say I'm Kelly Hart. That's my name. And that's what you could call me. But it's my energy imprint is who I am. It is, if I see someone struggling on the side of the road, do I drive by or do I stop and help? That is who you are. What you're putting out into the world is who you are. And the other stuff, like the things I talk about and stuff, that's coming from outside of me. I wasn't born and just knew this stuff. I'm just tapped in and I'm listening and I can hear them and they show me pictures, they show me things. So is that me? I don't see that as being me. I see that as my connection to what is outside of me and being tuned in and tapped in and even trusting the information they're giving. That's why I keep sharing so many of these TikToks, is because to me, it is confirmation. These other people are tapped in, obviously the same source of information that I am, because they're saying the same things. And everybody can see the stuff for themselves. It's however you got to figure out how to quiet your mind and tap in, because the information is all around us. there's artists, there's scientists, there's all sorts of people who understand that there's a creative force around us that gives us information, that helps us to expand our consciousness and give us insights and downloads and all of that stuff. So I totally agree with that. You do stop becoming you, or you become so gray that you don't, there's a lack of definition of self when you're tapped in, because you understand that what you're bringing into the table is coming from a whole bunch of different sources of information. It's not just your information. It's the whole conscious solar system being that is trying to communicate with all of us down here. So, there's so many times when I'll be like, who am I? Like, who am I? What am I? Because this isn't my information. I've said before, it's more like I feel like I can see it in my head, but what is that called? It's kind of like an antenna. That's not the word I was thinking. It's like a conduit or something. It is when you tune in and become an antenna, then the information starts coming. And so, then it's like, I'm not just talking about like information, like I went and solved a problem and now I can share that problem, like it's not a set thing like that. It is a creative force, a cosmic collective that is outside of us, that is communicating with us. But, so many people, they just get so caught up in this three-dimensional existence that they cut everything else off. They turn everything else off. They're just focused on what their experience is. And that's why, this is such a unique time in human history, because this is this changing your focus. This is pulling free from a system. It's questioning a system. And, they want to keep us in their system, but they also want to, do a mass reduction. But they want to keep their system alive. And they know that they need us to keep it alive, because, who are they going to enslave if they don't enslave us? And, also think about this too. I was feeding Stella this morning, and I just thought I should say this again. I know I've said it before, but when you realize that a dog's diet is supposed to be like 75% meat, like that's what their body needs. And kibble is 1% or something of their, their biological needs. It doesn't have any, it's like you're just feeding your dog cardboard and expecting it to stay healthy. And I was thinking, there's a whole thing behind that. They can terrorize us, with death and, making us all die faster and make us sick while we're here and make us dread all of these associations. I mean, there's people who keep themselves distant from people because they don't want to be hurt. So, they create this scenario of fear, and it has so much to do with death, and because that's a created concept, right? It isn't real. It's something that they tell you. So and you have to be tapped into yourself to realize, you're eternal. They can't kill you. What the fuck are you talking about? You're gonna kill me. And so, you can push me out of your reality, but your reality isn't that fun. It's like, I'm okay with it. So if you, for the dogs and stuff, like you think about, like if they are doing all this on purpose, because I've seen so much of this, like with the vet medicine and stuff, it's the same as ours. It's not really to make them better. It's really to make them sicker. Like, it's not doing things to save our animals. And anybody who's had an animal that they're close to die knows that it is like a family member dies. It doesn't make a difference. It's a different species. You become close. You bond with this animal on a different level of understanding, and then plus how cool it is when you can cross those barriers of species and communicate. Like Stella and I have figured out how to communicate. Like I can understand. There's certain things I don't understand. that she will try and tell me. And I'll tell her, I don't know what you're telling me. I don't understand what you're saying. But, you know, she's pretty good at figuring out how to communicate. I mean, they have the intelligence, what we would consider as a small child. And we can communicate with children. You know, we can communicate with children that speak a different language. Like, it's us who tap in. And there's so many people who just, you know, want them around for looks, but don't give a shit about their needs. So, you know, the food is so poisonous. The system is to keep them sick, and their life is so much faster. And how much trauma that brings us over and over, keep us down and depressed. That was one of the times when I had to go on the medicine, was when Lucy died, and I had to go on the antidepressants. I was so suicidal. I just felt so, oh my God, it was horrible, that feeling. And so, you know, there's a purpose that they do this. But if you think about, if dogs were out in the wild, you know, I know there's hunting dogs that would, you know how to go and hunt and catch a bird. Winston, he was a golden retriever, and I had seen him out in the yard. He could jump up from the ground straight up and grab a bird out of the air. Like, there's dogs that it's their natural instinct, and they would eat animals. There's ones that, you know, would dig holes and find rats and pull them out, or gophers and pull them out, you know. There's ones that would chase rats. There's ones that would probably chase cats and eat them. They'd all figure out how to eat and feed themselves. But, and it would all be meat. You know, they wouldn't go look for a cardboard box. I mean, Stella likes to tear them up and chew them up. I think they have flavor. But, you know, their biological nature would tell them that they need nutrition, and they would go and look for something nutritional. And I think a lot of them are just scavengers. They would go and eat, you know, our garbage, you know, what we throw out. They would dig through it, find something that was edible and eat it, you know, and probably hit all the different garbages. They'd also, you have some that, you know like, oh, if I sit and beg somebody, if I just go sit and give them a sad eyes, they'll give me something. Or some that know, like, oh, if I go up to these people in the park and I start doing tricks and they're laughing, they're going to share their sandwich with me. So they're smart. They can figure out how to survive, just like every other animal in the world. Like, we don't have to go out and feed all these animals that are out in nature. They're living their own realities in a world that they're here to experience. It's this system, this diseased system, that is manipulating the whole process, you know. I mean, right now, I guess they're killing a whole bunch of animals, saying that they're diseased because they're trying to, you know, short us on resources and food. And, you know, oh, that's what made me start thinking about it, was because I feed Stella meat. You know, I give her some kibble, which I buy. It's supposed to be a lot healthier and actually not have additives. It's supposed to actually be food substance that is, you know, dried and pressed into this food. Mine's called Life's Abundance, and it's expensive, but you know, supposedly it has less additives and less carcinogens. So I choose to spend the extra money to do that, because I've already gone through enough experiences with you know, Winston having cancer and Lucy just dying, and it's not fun. It's horrible. But, you know, I feed her meat. So I will go and get meat, and then I'll cook it and I'll put it on her food. And, you know, she's had that her whole life. And now they're jacking the price up so much of meat. But she can eat vegetarian, but it's not going to do the same for her system. Like, I've shared salads with her, you know, when I make beans, and she eats she eats potatoes, but peanut butter crackers, like, but they need, you know, meat, what is that word? People say it all the time. Like, you have to have a protein. They need that animal protein for their, you know, biological, I'm really tired. Last night was a really fucked up night. I was sleeping, but it feels like it reminds me of in the movies where they would show in a movie where the people would go to bed and then they spray something in through their vents, and the people are knocked out and they think that they are just asleep, and they don't realize they wake up and it's like a week later, but they can lie about time. So that's what it feels like right now. I feel so weird. I'm out of it yesterday too, and they have been so heavy on the spraying, and then with the rain and stuff, and yesterday with all the hail. So they're doing all this stuff to bring the chemicals down, on us and in the ground. And who knows, maybe today it'd be a beautiful fake sunny day so that we all go outside, so we breathe in these wonderful chemicals. So I don't know, but I feel so out of it. It's weird. And I woke up so much later today too, but I feel really weird. So I'm struggling with my words. But anyways, they need the certain sources of protein for them to be healthy. And, and we're doing it to them because we're playing our part in the system by not, tuning into what their actual needs are and just believing like, oh yeah, and just go down and buy a bag of kibble for $16.99 at Walmart and that's good. No, that's poison. That is actual, just, your dog will have cancer. 100%. And, when 6 out of 7 dogs or something, I think it's 6.5. I don't know where they get the halves, but how they average things out. But most dogs die of cancer because they are getting so many carcinogens. I mean, we don't know that all the deers are dying of cancer, but there's a lot of footage where all these birds and stuff are dying because of all the chemicals they're spraying in the air. So the animals, the trees, the trees and stuff are going to be affected by the no sun because they feed off of the light that comes from the sun. Plants need that in their photosynthesis to grow. We need it as our vitamin D because it helps build our immune system. That's why so many of these people that had the Dovik in the beginning were dying, but it was vitamin D deficiencies and poisons, even though they come up with their fancy little titles to call it. That's just their distraction. That's just so we're looking in another direction. See, she's tired too. But I did have to give her some medicine this morning because she did cry. She woke up in the middle of the night crying, so I gave her some. And then this morning it was weird though, because I was kind of like going in and out, like when you're kind of waking up, but you kind of keep going back into a dream. And so she kind of cried or something for a second. And I was like, made my little grunt back like, oh. And then the light flashed on. And so then I was like, they do that. Like, okay, Kelly, get up. So I was like, okay. So I got up. But it was weird because, they haven't done that in a while, flash the light on. So, yeah. I got up, but I felt like I could just go back and go to sleep. But she got up and ate really quick, and that's why I was thinking about the food. She doesn't normally eat right when she gets up, but she was going over the dish like, come on, girl, I'm hungry. And then she scarfed it down, and she's been so picky lately. But, the thing with the meat, while they're jacking the prices up, that's, it fucks everything. The same thing with their fake-ass sun and their chemicals and what they are doing to they're not just destroying us and human beings, they are also destroying the planet and all of nature and everything that comes from this planet. And it's all for their control because they, use our energy, and people just think, they're in this game. They don't realize they're a hologram. Like if it's the same thing, like if you put in your virtual reality glasses, like in your metaverse that they're trying to get you to become a part of, and you put on your goggle things and you sat down and went into the game and you just sat there for years and years and forgot you were in a game and you're just in there. That's what is going on here. It's just all of these people have forgotten that they're in a game, and you feel the sensations because you believe you're going to feel the sensations, and we have sensors and stuff, but it's still just, it's a hologram. It's very sophisticated, but none of us are really here. Our higher selves are really outside of us, up there in that collective consciousness communicating with us. Oh, and I saw another guy sharing those star things. So I shared that TikTok too, where it shows the stars. Go in and look at them for yourself. To me, it looks like people up there dancing. I believe it's, all of our different energies that come together, and we are movement and color. And So that's what I see when I see the stars that are around us. And I just can't believe how many people are just so much like, the earth is a globe, the earth is out in space, and all this stuff. They get like, oh, so invested in it, so upset about it. It's like, if this reality isn't, it's not that. It isn't that. It is like what I have said before. It's like a cineplex in a bubble where all these different stories and movies are happening. But it is a projection. It's like, so you can project through it. But the bubble's going to pop, I think. I think, I gotta see, I still have this, like, it's like something is in the way or something. I have to keep clearing my throat. It's weird. But I think it's the poisons. I swear to God, it's the fucking poisons. Everything is the poisons and toxins that they fill in our system. So in the air, especially where I am, we are just constantly being shrouded with chemicals. And I mean, now that I'm seeing these other people talking about that their sun is changing, it's like ours has been this way for a while. So I don't know if, like I said, we're the beta, and then they're spreading out the wealth to other experiments. But in my experiment, where I am located, it's a lot of poison. And in a lot of stuff with the weather, a lot of weather stuff that's just total nonsense and bullshit. And like April, and it's fucking hailing. Oh, it's irritating. And then you say something, oh, it's climate change. You gotta believe in the climate change. See, it's right there in front of you. No, what's right in front of me is that these rotten motherfuckers are just fucking with the weather to keep us depressed and keep us stressed out and keep us in fear, especially while they're campaigning for their new, global event of, we all got to do our part. If you got to pay half your money, you got to go buy $100,000 electric car if you want to get around. You have to ride the bus. Their campaign, to tell us what we need to do to get the bullies on board, to direct us and keep us all corralled and herd us into the fucking corral that they want us in. So, you just have to see through the nonsense so that you understand. But until you do, you just play your part, So, anyways, there is that whole thing. When you do tap into what is outside of you, you will begin to see yourself as not being fully developed. You aren't just you. You are everything. And everything is you. So you start to really see that, and your lines become a lot shadier, and a lot more gray. It's not so defined. Oh, and I even saw this girl who was, I don't know if I shared this TikTok, but she said, and it seemed like she wasn't spiritual before, like when she heard this, like, go outside in the sun. And so she went and was like, okay, I'll go sit in the sun. And it said another command to her. I can't remember what it was, but the whole thing was, go outside, sit down in the sun, and that they were doing something, downloading into her. And she said when she came in to talk about it and she started filming, you could see the energy extend past her fingers. And she's like, what is this? And you could see energy coming out of her hands like Wolverine. It was so trippy looking. Like if I look at mine, it was that shaman lady that showed me when I was going to that chakra class. And she showed me how you can see your aura and how you can see the energy that's coming out of you. But this woman's was like shooting out of her hands like, she could definitely, if she would have gone up and tried to move things without touching them, she could have. The energy was just coming out. And, this sun couldn't download shit. This thing, it's not there for that. So if you actually have a real sun, go out and sit in it and, absorb some of that energy, because it's definitely, leveling you up. But I think that, that kind of shows too with the light body, but it kind of goes with that whole thing of, our edges are becoming less defined. And the more you tap in, the more you see your edges aren't defined. And the more you connect with that energy, you see like this body is an illusion. Your energy is out, it's outside of this avatar. It's just you're so convinced by the stories they tell you about your avatar and the limitations they provide for you that you believe that you are just the avatar. You don't believe like that you are the energy that is powering the avatar. And the more you build that energy up, the more you cannot be contained. And I think that's part of what we're going to be expanding, like this whole thing with light bodies and stuff, and expanding. I think it's something beyond our, even if you go, like, because I think it sounds scary to people when you say, that your avatar will stop being there. But like I said before, when I came out of my body when I was 15 or 16, and I came out of it and I was walking to the bathroom, it didn't feel different. You don't feel, just because you are not focused on this avatar doesn't mean that you stop feeling like yourself. You still feel like yourself. Like, I had no idea I was outside of my body until I turned around and saw my body. Okay, Stella, man, I'm trying to do something. Let me finish what I'm doing. She starts knocking shit around. She knows how to use her head and her hands to do stuff. She's very smart. But anyways, so if you think about like our light bodies becoming more of our energy, like we don't need to be so confined, but we will still look like ourselves and feel like ourselves. And you will still, like, it wouldn't be a difference if you thought of this reality just exploding like a big bang, just a big explosion, and you are aware of your consciousness, you are aware that you are separate, and you are focused on your own energy, then where your energy lands in the new reality, because it still is attached to this earth plane, this reality. So as that reality moves, so if it's like it was on a tree leaf, a bubble on a tree leaf, or what is that? Is that a bubble? But you know what I'm talking about. It's like a little bubble on a tree leaf. So if you have the leaf, and then you have the reality that's coming out of the leaf, like, if you thought about on the leaf, if you went down to the microscopic, you would see things coming off the leaf. If you looked under it, you would see things dripping down. You would see a whole bunch of life on the leaf in the bubble. And the bubble holds in that environment, that reality, or however you want to look at it. So if that expansion happens, this big bang, this explosion, this cosmic event, and that bubble were to explode, to release that ferment, to release that energy, because it no longer needs to be confined, because just like that woman's energy was coming outside of her body, we don't need this confinement, this jail that we are here in, that we're trying to help people realize they're in prison so that they can move out of it and work on themselves and expand themselves. This is about your soul's growth, not, what can my avatar do? How many houses can I own? How many cars can I drive? It's not about that. It's not how many gold chains can I wear? How many teeth can I turn gold? All of that stuff. It's not about that. It's about the expansion of your soul. It's about your energy coming outside of you. And, it's like turning it on so much that that energy is more powerful. So if the bubble exploded, and the ice walls went down and the ferment was released, and the earth plane, the reality that we're all connected to, were to, explode and go onto another tree, a tree that's higher up, only it doesn't have the same confinement. It doesn't have an ice wall around it. It doesn't have a firmament over it. Instead, it is all of the souls, the collective, the souls that came together, like what I talk about, like this unity of no longer just focusing on your experience, but coming together as a collective and growing as a collective. So that group that is attached to the consciousness of Earth, then that would go to be on this other tree in another higher up, like a higher vibration. And so all of the souls that are associated with that, like you would still look like yourself to yourself. You would still see the people you knew looking like themselves, because that would be in our understanding. It would be part of what we're, you wouldn't go around like, wait, do I know you? I don't know you. You will have soul recognition, and you will see the people as you understand them, as you know them on Earth. So then you would be your light body, you would be in a higher vibration in another reality that would be the age of Aquarius. And it would be, I think other beings are going to be coming too, because that's the whole release of the firmament and the whole beginning of being a part of the Galactic Federation and getting to be, at the table with the other more advanced souls to be a part of, universal law and realities and understanding and all that stuff. It's a huge expansion for the souls that are going through the ascension and moving into the golden age. So if you go to that, then, and like I said, some of these people who are transitioning, dying off of this reality, they will go into that reality if that's what they choose to do, is go into the age of Aquarius. But there's some of us who are not going to do it through death. We are going to do it through life. We are going to be a part of the expansion. So that's why, you need to not be in fear of it, because there's nothing that can hurt you from it. It's an expansion. It's moving into something that's much bigger and being connected to so much more. But it seems very scary because we've got so many limitations on us, so much information that comes at us that tells us that we are nothing, we're worthless, we're an accident, people will treat you like shit, life sucks, That's just this reality they created. But this expansion is where we are going to create the reality that we want. So, and we're learning all of this stuff. So our reality that we're going to create will be like, Earth 2.0. It's going to be a million times better. It's going to be, get rid of all the bad. The bad can't even live in there. That they can't survive. But there will still be, I don't know how much room there would be to have the negative. Like, I don't know how much negative would be acceptable in that thing, that because like if you understand about like different alien races and stuff like that, there's a lot of them that don't even understand death. They don't understand this concept because they don't experience it. So, we're going to go up more into that, where we're going to not have these same experiences and these same kind of tragic lives. It's going to be a different kind of way of existing. But these existences will continue because it's a consciousness, is a school for consciousness to learn about itself so that it can get to the point of expansion. So in all three-dimensional realities and experiences would all be unique and different. Like I said, this one's very diseased, but that doesn't mean they're all diseased, but you do go there to go through some really hard things, some really, tragic things, because you learn so much from tragedy and pain. We learn and we expand from those things. Also, think about this too. Yesterday when I was saying about the rally and stuff, just think about how absurd that is. The person who's supposed to be running the country they took that away from him, yet he's the one out there promoting, he's the one out there promoting and telling us to just go vote, just go, color in that dot, That's absurd. I mean, you got to look at it and see how absurd that is. And I think that is part of the awakening for the people who are holding on to. There's a lot of people that their primary focus is the government. Or a lot of people, their primary focus is the medical. A lot of people, their primary focus is still with celebrities. And I think that's why this absurdity is happening. Like the stuff with the Will Smith, I mean, it just doesn't. They just, every day I see some other headline about it, and it just gets more and more absurd. They're going to do this to him. They're going to take this. And, he's banned from the Oscars. He should have just been arrested. It's illegal. You can't go and hit people. It's illegal. They should have just come right there. He should have been arrested. That's all there is to it. Where it went from there, that's between the people involved. But, I mean, if we walk up and hit somebody, we can be arrested. So, fair play for everybody. It shouldn't be rules for them and not rules for us. But that's what I'm saying is some of this stuff is so absurd. So the people who are, really, invested into the drama, they're going to have so much absurdity being thrown at them as part of their awakening. It's part of them to see like, my God, this is ridiculous. What? To question things, to begin to, fire up the grill that's going on in here, because, so many people, they're not firing on all cylinders, they're chugging along, and they need a, what is that called? Or you have to go in and it's coming up on my card thing, you got to go get your maintenance. They need some maintenance done. They're not firing on all their cylinders. And this absurdity is so that they can, start stoking the fire and getting something going in their thought process, in their rational thinking, in their logic, in their critical thinking. So I think it's the same thing with Trump. Like, the stuff is so absurd. And plus, I know we're not going to go and have people over us like that. In this new future that we're going to create, it's not going to be like all this governing forces telling us what the rules and what the laws are. It's not going to be like that. So, but I know he can't talk about that if he knows, but I would think he knows because they've had access to Looking Glass. So, and another thing too, think about this, is when you think about yourself, when you're trying to understand yourself, think about, hold on. It's tickle in my throat. When you're thinking about yourself, consider this aspect of self. Like if you have something going on, we all do this. We have something going on. We know who we're going to go talk to about it. We know who's going to give us what we want from the conversation. We know if we want someone to support us or we want somebody to talk us off the cliff, or, we all know who in our lives can give us what we want. So we go to that person, and that's where we have to start recognizing for ourselves, like, why am I trying to be somebody different for these different people? I need to just figure out, my authentic self and stop trying to be different people be different for each and every different person. I need to figure out who I am and take a stand on my own self and not go outside of myself and see from other people. But another thing too about that is, as you putting your energy out there, to also not be somebody who tells somebody what they want to hear. Be true, be authentic. Don't be cruel, don't be mean, but be real. Be true to what you really believe, what you really think. We got to stop saying what we think somebody wants to hear because it's holding them back. We need to face ourselves. We need to feel that pain. It's not pain that's going to, continue unless we hold on to it. It's just coming to the surface so we can purge it. So when you're true and authentic, some of the most meanest things that people have said to me that I thought they were just being heartless was the most significant things to help me grow as a person. So we need to be truthful and authentic when somebody approaches us, and wants to whine about their problems or whatever. Everybody has different things that they go to talk about. But we got to not play the game. We got to be real, and we got to, be honest. That's who I believe we really want to be, is our authentic, honest self. We don't want to be playing games anymore. And we want to be creating a world where games don't need to be played. Yeah, you may do something stupid, but I accept you. I do stupid shit too. We all do stupid shit. We're here to do stupid shit and learn. We didn't come here as grad students that are not allowed to make a mistake. We came here as students of life so we could learn and develop ourselves from the education that we receive. And that is the existence of a being, a living being. So anyways, it's just stuff to think about. And, and there's a lot to think about, there's so much to think about, but really with this whole, corporate takeover, it's the globalist takeover, and they're taking over the system and the money and everything. And it's happening as we speak, and we know it's not going to keep going because these other countries are already on Gacera. So we will be joining that, but we have to go through some big traumas because we are where they have a big strong hold. They don't want to let go. It's like they've got their flag in America and they're, like, no, this is going to be the new world order, and they've got a couple more countries. I think they definitely, Australia, England, probably Ireland and Scotland, probably Switzerland. Like, there's certain countries definitely where they have, placed their flags and said, no, this is our territory and we're going to take it as, globalists because we've got the best plan. It doesn't matter that it's mostly to kill you and to live off of you like parasites while you're alive, but it's their plan, and they have gotten control of this reality to that extent, that they affect even nature. So it's up to us, each and every one of us, to wake up and to start questioning things and start looking into things and start trying to understand things. And when I said about look up, the good place to start if you have not, if everything is new to you, what's happening, and you were just living your life, working, trying to survive in this world, and now all this crazy shit is happening, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Then, everything has been a lie to keep you separate from who you really are. And it goes all the way back. The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers are like in the beginning families. I don't even know all the different names, but it's these certain rich aristocratic families that have developed these systems that control us. And all you got to do, you can start anywhere and follow the money. Right now they have everything so disjointed, it's really hard, especially if you use Google. You used to be able to Google stuff, but now, they've got Google's owned. It's part of the extension of them. And some people say you can use DuckDuckGo, but DuckDuckGo is doing the same kind of thing. So, you're limited on information because that's part of their process of, creating their history they want and creating the world that they are trying to create. And the world they're trying to create is just to benefit them. It's not to benefit anything with us. They don't give a shit about us. They just want to use our energy, and they make so much money off of keeping us depressed and on medicine and keeping us sick. It's the whole thing about stay lazy. That's smart. Really? You don't have enough common sense to know that being lazy is gonna, we've all known people who are lazy. You will just deteriorate. Your body will deteriorate. Your muscles will atrophy. Your brain starts to atrophy. Everything starts. And I'll say this one before I go. I saw this mom who was showing her daughter's science experiment, and she took 2 jars of rice and put rice and water in these 2 jars. And then every day she would go up and speak to the jars. And I think she did it for a month or 3 months. I'm horrible with numbers, but it was some time like that. It wasn't years. Could have been, I'm pretty sure it was like a month. But in each of these jars, she would speak to them. And one, she would just give it love and tell how much beautiful it was and how much she loved it. And the other one, she would just belittle it and tell it was ugly and smelly and disgusting. And the one jar began to look like rice and look beautiful, and the other one just turned into a brown sludge. And the little girl was like, oh my gosh, this is just a month. You know, what about the little kids who have to live like this every day? What's that doing inside their bodies? Because, you know, we're water, and, you know, and they do this stuff with the frequency and the music, and they keep our bodies in chaos. And that's why you have to tune into yourself. You have to recognize that stuff. And that's why it has such an important thing of what is the energy you're putting out. Do you tell people that they're a disappointment to you all the time? Do you tell them that they're worthless, that they're ugly, that they have no business, you know, being themselves? You know, that is, you are destroying them if you are doing that. That's the energy you're putting out there. That's who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a Catholic, a Christian, a black person, a fat person, you know, it doesn't matter. Any of the stuff that you identify yourself as, it is about the energy you're putting out. How are you affecting others? And what is the effect that you have in this world? That's what you got to pay attention to. That's who you truly are. So anyways, it's just stuff to think about. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.